finals, and then if I recall, they descended to the loser bracket, and then they lost to Ninjas in Pajamas, who of course were the team that went all the way to the finals of the Sixth Invitational. So I'd say that their recent LAN performance has been really good. Let's go through the ban phase.
They definitely improved it.
Let's find out where we're going to be playing, and it looks like theme park's already gone. So eUnited's not even going to leave it to the last ban.
Kafe, though, good map for both these teams for the most part. EU have played it once and drew on it, and then you had DarkZero with a victory on it, but that was against EG, and so it was, I believe, a 7-2. So that's not a huge surprise given the way that EG's been playing lately, unfortunately. So it should be a good map here.
I think the Consulate ban right at the end there might have actually just been because they turned off the lights on Consulate. I don't know if you saw that, Devin, but like Consulate
played that, or Latam rather.
Yeah, Consulate has suddenly just become dark. So I think a lot of people are on top of that one and really, really don't want to be playing it right now. And that's understandable if that's the case. But I'm going to take a look at their Consulate stats before I actually like write off on that one. No, actually, if you look at the recent history, so from far enough back to, like, let's say December of 2019, they only actually managed to play Consulate twice, and they've lost it twice. So
there you go.
Maybe they just don't want to play on the map.
Makes sense. They have a better record on Kafe.
Yeah, they don't have a great record there. So 79% favor for DarkZero. Can't say I'm surprised. How about you, Devin?
Yeah, that looks about right. I mean, honestly, I'd almost have it to the point where EU's in single digits versus, not necessarily in general, but versus DarkZero, given their track record. As you mentioned, only losing to TSM, the guys just above them. Well, not just above them, a pretty big gap above them, but definitely showing that, as you said, they're kind of the second place dominant team that doesn't seem to lose to anyone else. So, I mean, if things continue as normal, it's almost a sure thing for DarkZero to win. But at the same time, Alfama's in the mix now. Things could change up for this matchup. So I think that percentage looks pretty good. I think there's an underdog chance here for eUnited, especially on a map that's decent for them. So hopefully we'll get into Kafe here, the hybrid version of Kafe and us.
Yeah, we have become the teams, and I'm not sure what's happening there. But what I do know is that we are going to load into the match, or we're going to load into our faces. Now we're in the match. We're doing,
there we go.
Changing gears.
Thatcher bans. All right.
So yeah, to start things off, Thatcher eliminated, taken out. That's going to change a lot of how this is played. We've talked about this numerous times. Thatcher is a really interesting ban because he is going to slow things down for the attack quite substantially. And based on what we saw from North America in the last North American Playday, I think that this is going to be an excruciatingly slow attack side for both teams, especially on a map like Kafe. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Devin, you familiar with that mute setup you can have on the top floor for Kafe, where you just box in the top of red? You get one mute hammer in the humidifier, one next to the door. I mean, you can basically slow down that droning from top red so much that the attack team has to reconfigure their strategy if you got a Thatcher ban.
And I imagine you obviously need to worry about ADSs and stuff like that, because in theory you could throw a grenade down to clear those, but then of course you've got to worry about ADSs and Wamai and things like that as a factor to deal with, especially with Wamai in play. When we saw Kafe in Latin America, there was a ton of Wamai play that was very successful with the shields and whatnot. But one thing that was interesting is Cameraman brought Cali consistently to try and deal with the Thatcher ban, and it really did not work at all, because we talked about, maybe that's a replacement for when Thatcher's banned. It really proved not to work. So it's kind of it's going to be tricky to see if they do anything like that, because it just really didn't work.
Yeah.
Protect your bombs from being defended
and you got an interesting site right off the bat, actually. DarkZero decided to go to mining. This is typically considered the off site. Many teams will go to reading over mining. But I do know that there are some teams in DarkZero. I want to say they are, but I can't recall exactly. I can look it up. I believe DarkZero is one of the teams that prefers not to go to kitchen, but that is one we're gonna have to, like I said, I'm gonna have to look up before I say it definitively. They are obviously good at all of the bomb sites, as they're proving to us here, picking the least played one.
Yeah, mining has definitely been tricky. I think SSG is one of the few teams that tends to be somewhat successful on it, and will bring it out occasionally. But overall, it's not been great. We saw it also not work out very well for Latin America yesterday. So it's a tricky site because of the destructibility. The vertical play on that site is just much different than on reading.
Yeah, so quick correction. I was actually wrong. Kitchen is, interestingly, the most played site for DarkZero on this map in recent history. But, well, they're not going to be bringing it at least right out the gate. And the question is, will they bring it later down the line? As typically, if you put mining in your rotation, you take Kitchen out as you know, leaning more heavily on those top floor sites. And I think you're right. SSG is one of those teams that might do a different lineup than many teams, but that's typical of them. So it's going to be, it looks like so far a pretty standard take from eUnited. Decent efficiency here. They've brought a gridlock to try and slow down the rotation on red stairs.
Typical.
Standard stuff, yeah. Nothing too out of the ordinary so far. The clear of the top floor looks like it's going to be pretty easy for eUnited because it doesn't seem like there's much of a presence up here for DZ. They do have someone in Cocktail. I want to say that's Hyper on the Valkyrie. Can't be sure on the outlines, but it looks like it. And they might have maybe one other roamer on this top floor. So there is a delay tactic being employed here by DZ. It's just a lot less heavy than some teams would use.
Yeah, this is generally what you'd use for reading. Mining is not as much. It's not as great here because they're able to take Christmas easily and then use that for vertical play downwards. And all you can do to contest is start to push back from Cocktail.
Yeah, so it's not as much top floor control as you would expect on mining. But, I mean, it's already pushed off, so eUnited some good efficiency here. Like some set of Xcaros somewhere else got shot there from maybe the bottom red stairs. It will open to the wall still, but not as much as I'm sure Callout was hoping for.
And this is the big problem we saw with mining dining on Latin America, was opening that wall from red stairs really became a problem for the defenders.
Now, this vertical control really working for eUnited. They haven't managed to get a pick off of it yet, but they know what they've got control of. They know what they don't have to deal with. A little bit of damage going the way of Grixer, so that's not a great start. But they go for the execution. He will die much faster than most, and that will obviously work against eUnited. Sky is being droned, but not efficiently enough as he's gone undetected. But there's the shot from Yeti to get the kill. But I spoke too soon. It looks like he might have had information on that pre-fire. So early kill for eUnited, and they're going to snowball off of that in all likelihood. Let's see what DarkZero can do to stop it in the last 15 seconds. Not great site control, and here comes the push from eUnited. Too early for DZ in the execution, and the follow-up from Alfalma is in, but it might not be enough as the trades are going in DZ's favor. Only slightly low HP on these last two players, and it might be a win on time. There it is. DarkZero taking it just on working out the clock.
They really just didn't seem to have the map control to be able to make that work. I mean, you get Christmas pretty much for free. That should give you a whole bunch of extra time to be able to pressure the roamers and all the site defenders even pretty much where you want them to. Then you have vertical control. You also have some of the horizontal control from opening the wall. Yeah, maybe it didn't go as he wanted, but overall they should have had the time to be able to make that work. Not to mention you've got the gridlock to be able to control retakes of the top floor. It was just maybe they had their checklist all wrong. They weren't prepared probably for a mining defense and just kind of had to improvise, because you could tell, usually the more often you attack the site, the faster you can run through your checklist. And that just it seemed really like they were ill prepared for that. And we know DZ are a team that used to be the ones to kind of bring out all the weird sites. And so maybe that's kind of DZ returning a bit to form to say, let's surprise our opponents consistently again.
Many bombs as they can.
Maybe. What I will say is, eUnited, while they did have that top 4 control, I mean, it didn't do enough for him. Just bluntly, it didn't do enough for him. There were oddly still people from DZ in positions that I think could have been exposed to vertical pressure, but they just weren't being shot. They're not worried about that presence. And there was almost a salvage play by Alfalma, I gotta say, right in the middle of that. Well, the middle of the last 20 seconds. Alfalma went for a drop into trains, and he almost recovered that round. He could have done it, but it just wasn't enough to get the one kill because he had already lost too much momentum on the initial vault in. His teammates dying earlier on.
Well, this should be a site they're a bit better prepared for, though. the only problem is the Wamai and the Goyo together are so strong, especially with the castle. You're denied so many different angles and ability to play on this, and if the Wamai is playing smartly, he can continue to add throwable denial.
It's not even just that. I mean, it's also, you can't forget about the Maestro. You have to look at this lineup and see every single operator is contributing to the same equation, right? It's the Goyo, the castle are there to be shot at by lifelines and ash charges, right? Or nades. And then the Jaeger and the Wamai are there to catch those nades or lifelines or ash charges. And then the Evil Eyes are there to persist because at that point you don't have any more soft destruction. So the Evil Eyes will be able to deny the plants. I mean, it's a really, or the castle barricades will deny the angles, or the Goyo shields will still be there when they need to be detonated to deny a plant or a push or something. So you've got all these different layers to this, soft destruction complex for DZ that it becomes very difficult for eUnited to chip through all of them with the tools they have available.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like they need to burn some of the Wamais first, so then they can use the Ebonics Kairos to open the castle barricade, possibly save some for their walls, then use the, the Zophias and the Ash Charges to take out the other utility like the cameras, but at the same time, pay close attention to Wamai. And I was saying this during Latin America as well, but speed is important with Wamai because he recharges over time. The faster you get those jobs done, the less Wamai discs you have to deal with.
That is an excellent observation, Devin, and it doesn't seem like speed is of the essence for eUnited in this round, at least. They're setting up an execution. You can clearly see that they want to go for an east repel take or something along those lines. There's a roamer inside of, or no, that might be Alfalma. No, yeah, it's got to be Skies inside of Piano. So DZ still has that control, and that's Alfalma gone early to Houghton holding an angle from inside the building. Grixer will get the nade in response, but I mean, that is a free kill basically right there. Houghton gets another one onto Yeti holding, the same angle? Or was that the player on Repel? No, I think it was the same angle. He's gonna get a third! What are you doing, eUnited? Why would you peek him on the same angle 3 times? Okay, so eUnited effectively out of the round. 30 seconds left, 2 versus 4. Gonna be very difficult to recover this, but you can see that Grixer's making an effort. He's trying to make it happen. Soft destructing from below. He's done decent damage to Hyper, and there's also Mint on low HP. But with only 25 seconds or less, 18 now as I refresh the feed, DZ is in a winning spot. Fofo-san goes in for 1. Grixer gets another. There's 2 for Fofo. It's suddenly Houghton in a 1v2. He's going to have to deny the plant. He will do. Now he just needs to wait out the last 5 seconds. Fofo can pick himself up, but there's not enough time. Quad kill for Houghton. He's going for the ace, but he's not going to need it. DarkZero, a win on time for 2 rounds in a row.
I don't think it's even necessary to say, but Houghton won that round. Although at the same time, eUnited pretty much handed it to him on a silver platter. How many times are you going to peek that skylight? I mean, you might as well just jumped off the roof at that point. It was just really badly played. It seems like eUnited really kind of haven't found their stride yet, and I hope that maybe they're just having some kind of warm-up issues, but they seem to really be lacking on intel and making just really bad mistakes on their peaks, their vertical control, things like that. They're not playing smartly, and I gotta wonder if they're not doing a great job communicating the positioning of players on the drones. But I mean, it could also be some good drone denial from DZ, but it's not like they're bringing tons of drone denial. We're not seeing Mute Mozzie every round. They're just lacking in basic coordination. And then Alfalma dying early, I think, is really a big problem for them because they need that IQ to be able to spot the gadgetry. You heard late round Zofia lifelines being caught by Wamai discs because they had no ability to know whether they were there or not. So it's really problematic. It was a good attempt to actually try and bring it back all the way down to hot and cold, the last one left. So like when things got kind of desperate and sweaty, EU were able to start to do some work, but it's just the early on mistakes, both rounds really, that are costing them the whole round itself essentially on time.
I want to know if it was 2 people. We know for sure that 2 people peeked Houghton on the same angle, right? Like we know we saw those 2 people from the skylight, right? But I want to know if that kill we didn't see was also on that angle. I think it was. We saw the flashing X when we switched back to him. So I'm pretty sure he killed 3 people on eUnited, peeking him from the same angle. And could you imagine that execution if that just hadn't happened?
Yeah, it was definitely terrible.
You said it yourself, Devin. I mean, that round was doing really well for eUnited on the setup. The execution when they came in to recover it, I mean, they got a bunch of kills. It suddenly became a 1v2 favor eUnited, despite that early advantage for DZ. And yet, you know, because they had already lost so many men, they couldn't actually recover it in the dying seconds of the round. I don't know. It's a weird round for sure. And that's, by the way, that's 2 rounds now that eUnited have lost on time.
Yeah, it's definitely been a big problem for them. Time management, as you said, time doesn't seem to be of the essence for them. They're a bit slow on these attacks. Bar should have been one they were well prepared for, just because it's such a standard one, but they were also going for a huge amount of denial setup with all the shields and gadgetry, as we were discussing. So I can understand a little bit of trepidation there in trying to coordinate that, but that's what all your scrims and practice and warm-up for this season were for. You needed to be prepared for that kind of setup. We'll see how they go. It's a very different setup here down in Kitchen. Very different lineup of operators for the most part. So things may go a bit differently. As you said, DarkZero liked this bomb site, so they're well prepared for it. But I like this double floor top down. That is a highlight reel. Mojo gonna be clipping that one for sure.
Oh, we made it to the digest, Devin. We made it.
There we go.
Oh boy. Okay. eUnited, a man down. Grixer's calling good game in the chat already. I assume he's critiquing Siege, not actually calling the game as in like over. There's going to be a response here from Yeti with good awareness on the angles there. He can see through the prone into the reception. Does he think that that's open? That might be open on his. I'm guessing that's open on his screen.
I mean, supposedly the hot fix, or the fix that came out the other day, the one that turned the lights off on console, was supposed to be fixing that, and so far I haven't seen too many problems since then. So hopefully it was just him trying to open the barricade and was missing, not hitting enough shots close together.
I don't know. He's in now though, and Skies has eaten some damage on his attempt to hold in that location in VIP. He's got support from Hot and Cold, so there's a refrag set up here from DZ. They know Skies probably won't win a gunfight, and they're accounting for that. Meanwhile, eUnited have set up a main lobby push as well as a bakery push. They don't have anything open yet, and Eclipse is going to get one. Responded by Alfalma, and here's the back and forth started once again for these teams. But it's eUnited to come up short. Hot and Cold from the site, once again, working some magic. Call out the last one, and he'll die to Mint as he pushes into the site. eUnited falter yet again. No clear strategy there from them in this round.
They were definitely looking for holes. They were trying to poke holes from multiple angles, looking for opportunities, trying to find where they were. There was a Mozzie probably slowing down some of the droning, so they weren't able to necessarily find the holes as quickly as they wanted from farther away. So they just kind of had to start poking at it. And Hot and Cold, being definitely hot today, obviously was a big part of countering that with his 3K, really pushing back. Like you said, the trade, and I think some of that was having to face check a little bit, trying to poke those holes. And as you mentioned as well, DZ trying to set up for those trades specifically, especially when they knew some of their members were lower on health. Just they were well prepared, kind of bunkered down, so that wherever the holes started to get poked at, they were ready to push back on each of them without having to move too much. That also meant eUnited were also spread out a little bit on their attack, which meant they couldn't trade as efficiently as DZ could because they were in a more central location. But overall, like, that was a little bit better of a round from EU in terms of their ability to trade for those pushes. But again, lack of coordination, I have to wonder if EU either weren't dry running enough a lot of these attack strats, or just getting thrown off by some of the setups of DZ.
Let me look at their stats for Kafe. How they typically do here. I'm looking at Kafe on the attacking side, and I don't know. They're not. eUnited doesn't have necessarily bad stats on Kafe. I've only got one map to really pull on for the last few months or so, so there's not there's not a plethora of information really. But they've only won the one time they went to Kafe. They've only won attacks twice. So, and that's something that we have to keep in mind too, guys, is that it's not, and that was versus Space Station, no less, who they drew on this map the last time they played them. But that was, that was January. Anyway, the one thing we have to keep in mind is that the attacking side is in the disadvantage when it comes to...
especially with Wamai in play these days, and Thatcher band.
Yeah, Thatcher ban is huge. We can't undersell that. And this looks like a rush right now from Yeti. Yeah, he's going in. He's going to die right off the bat to Hyper. Skies gets another. Fofo trying to follow up. And, well, DZ already 2 men up. They were ready. There's 3, actually. So eUnited. I guess that's the 4-0. They were trying to do something, trying to work some magic. Not going to happen.
It looks like Grixer didn't even fully hit through that wall there. Might have been just standing a little too far away. So he didn't even finish his job opening up the wall into the freezer.
It's the little
This
thing.
definitely looks sloppy.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy, that's for sure. I mean, it's looking like United are having some trips here and there, but you know, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to bounce it back on defense. Again, keep that in mind. I feel like on Kafe especially, it's really important to just remember how powerful the defensive side is. And DZ has taken full advantage of that, but there's been some close rounds. Like that attack onto the top floor, again, if three, oh, there's the C4 from below, and there goes Grixer. Okay, so now it's just call out. Sorry, if 2, possibly 3 people hadn't peeked Houghton on that top floor attack, United might be in a 2-1 right now.
Yeah, they're even getting denied on some of this droning with the Mozzie. Like, at this point, like, you might as well just start taking some time to open.
No way.
So here's the funny thing. So now, not only was that a flawless round, it was completely flawless in that they did not lose any health even. And on top of that, that was what we're going to call now a super cycle, where they completed all 4 bomb sites flawlessly rather than just the 3.
Sure. Yeah, we can call it that. That's true. Yeah, so a super cycle for DZ, and that is really impressive, even on the defender-sided map. What that effectively means is that there is no site that DZ is not comfortable on. Or
that's what you want to see for a team these days, right? The map pool hasn't changed a ton.
Yeah, so they can go to any site that they want to. They can be comfortable wherever they need to be. And given that, it puts extra pressure on eUnited to win attack rounds. I could very easily see this going 6-0 if DZ doesn't throw any of these defensive rounds. Usually when a team gets into a winning streak like this, you'll see some trips here and there where players will think that, oh, I can make this play, and they can't make that play. And then they make that play and don't get away with it. But I don't know if DZ is going to be making that mistake. They're not prone to those types of things, so this could just easily be the 6-0, and then we'll see what United can work up on defense. Not over yet, mind you, but it is getting worse and worse for United as time goes on.
It's interesting to see them make some changes as well, bringing the Nomad instead of the Gridlock. They're going to bring the Maverick, which now has grenades, and you see them bringing those. So they've got 2 sets of grenades now, finally. So that will help a little bit. They've also got some Claymores and flashes. So the flashes are definitely going to be necessary for potentially clearing some of those Jaeger ADS, but at least they don't have to deal with the Wamai this time. So, I mean, they're not in a bad position attack strat-wise, but, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get a ton of value out of that Maverick, except, I mean, because there's a couple positions they want to open, but they almost were better off with the Habana, I think, in terms of trying to open, because you've got a hatch you've got to deal with upstairs, and if you're trying to Maverick that, you could potentially get C4'd through that floor and train. So that is a concern. We saw the C4s come out last round, 2 of them, successfully. So they've got the intel, they've got the Valkyrie cameras to be able to watch that. You saw there was one in Christmas that they put on the chandelier. So if that's not seen by Alfama, they will be able to successfully C4 that room.
Successfully C4. We saw 2 successful C4s in the last round, and it seems like DZ has a good awareness of where their explosives need to go in order to get the kills. And the one thing that I really picked up on last round was it felt like eUnited had nowhere to hide on attack. And that's an awkward feeling. And as a, you know, when you're in that position as a player, it's really uncomfortable, I gotta say. So we'll see if eUnited can shake that, if they're able to work their way past it. This is a prepped C4 from Houghton, or he's faking it out. You can see Yeti is actually aiming at where the C4 arc would come from. Yeti hits his C4 shots, so not going to be a wasted C4 from Houghton. That's smart for him not to try that.
Yeah, we also have Yeti changing up roles too. He's going to be on the Ash this time, so that's going to give them some flexibility with the aggression, because he is a good aggressive player. Sometimes maybe a little too much, but they do need some of that aggression. They just need to do it a little more coordinated, and I think they'd have more success on their attacks.
So top floor control here for United, but only a minute really to go. A little over, of course. Not much time to work with, and United also haven't done any damage to DZ yet. C4s are still in hand for DZ. First one detonates, a little bit of damage done to Yeti, but no kill. So that's a really good sign for United. They're not going to start losing players as early as they did in the past to those C4s. Some damage being done to Hyper through the wall. Strength being not reinforced on that reading wall, and well, your Valkyrie is going to be worse for wear because of that. Jmot's being used to stop the push from Forest, or Fofosan XD from the east balcony. And just more deliberation for eUnited. They're going to think about how they want to attack this, open up more angles. They're not getting anything out of it just yet, but it could start very soon as we're about to hit the last 25 seconds of this round.
You keep seeing players on DarkZero just repositioning for this attack.
Yeah, they're all ready. I mean, there's the C4 coming out from Houghton, a little bit preemptive maybe, but it could have netted a kill. First kill goes to Grixter though, as he drops in through the red stairs. It's going to be added to by Fofo. Houghton's fighting back, and he's still alive, so he can do more work here, but he's missing his shots. This is crucial. The pistol comes out, and that misses too. It's just Skies, but there's not much time. On the drop, he dives to Fofo, and eUnited will get their very first round.
There's one thing we're seeing eUnited do well. When they get towards the end of the round and they collected enough intel, their attacks are actually pretty lethal. The problem is that they're just usually running out of time. If they don't win enough of those fights fast enough, they just lose on time. We did see a lot of DarkZero continually repositioning that round closer and closer to the approaches where they were expecting players from DarkZero to come, just creeping up, hoping to just be right on the front lines of where DZ would push EU would push as soon as they got desperate for time. The thing is, though, EU were actually ready to hit those shots as soon as they made those pushes. DZ pushing closer and closer to those entry points for EU actually kind of worked against them. And so that's something DZ need to be a little cautious of, is that they need to be maybe a little bit better positioned in sight rather than spread around and pushing those aggressive perimeters. Because it didn't really work out for them that round, as you saw. Like you said, though, some of those missed shots from Train did ultimately kind of cost them a little bit of that round.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, Devin, because that's pretty much the same exact assessment I had for North America when I casted it the last day. And we're both picking up on the same trends here. Like, when it comes down to the final seconds of the round and the defense is positioned to hold it out, and there's no kills for either team, right? That same thing was happening frequently last North American Play Day, right? And it's happening again this North American Play Day. And what I'm seeing is the same what you're seeing. It's a common trend. If the defense is positioned well, set up for the inevitable push, and they just hold their angles and wait it out, then they'll win. But if the defense attempts to reposition in the last few seconds, expecting aggression from the attack, and they reposition too early, they'll get caught in those repositions. The attack will get the entry kills they need, and then everyone on attack rushes in desperately in the last few seconds to win the round.
I gotta say, it's almost like watching Latin America when Thatcher's banned, honestly.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Just the aggression to push indoors and not really spending time trying to breach stuff as much.
I mean, it might also have something to do with the nature of Kafe, too. We have to keep that in mind. You know, if I'm not mistaken, Polly is available, right? Like, that's established, so not having her right now on a kitchen attack is going to be hard? Or am I wrong? Am I, like, somehow an idiot right now?
Well, when we watched Cameraman playing as Callie on these attacks, it did actually help the most on kitchen, specifically, because it helped with both those sets of walls. Yeah, because you were dealing with the Kaed, you were able to clear the two Electroclaws, one that was on the prep room and one that was on the main wall, and clear those both out pretty effectively. It's just after that, he wasn't able to hit a lot of shots, but honestly, you know, that was kind of his job, was just help get those walls open. Yeah, so for this site specifically, it was fine.
It's really dangerous to use Maverick here, because there's a lot of potential that it can bounce back at you. Like, you could see the angles being held by DZ through those Maverick holes, and that can lose you a player. But it looks like eUnited's playing it well. Not going to have to stress too much about, ooh, I spoke too soon. Call out now on a bullet's worth of HP. He got the wall open, so props to Call Out for that. He did his job, but he lost. Oh, he's dead now.
Okay,
that damage. The damage incurred earlier, and then that from Fofosan will be all that matters. Alfama gets the first kill for his team, though, or I guess the second kill for his team. First kill in his team's favor. So eUnited's not out of it. They've got the wall open, but now they've only got a minute to execute.
Yeah, they're not in the worst position, but getting the wall open is, you know, the important part. At least he's able to do that. Your chances are he might have died anyways from, you know, the players shooting him in the feet, things like that. But at the same time, yeah, you're going to be losing 2 grenades that now are not going to be usable because he's dead. So that's a big loss. I almost would like to see the Mavericks open a little tiny hole where the Electroclaw is and just cook a nade to take it out, and then let a Thermite open the wall, just so you get a better opening and you don't risk your life as much.
Yeah, they didn't decide to bring the thermite, but that could be definitely a solution for them next time if they want to go that route. For now, they've only got the 25-ish seconds to work with in this round. And, oh, that's a nice catch there from Yeti. I'm sure he's happy he went fish in that moment. Now, guys will get the refrag. That's a good response from DZ. But there's already an attacker in sight, and that's actually going to be a caught C4 by Fofoston. Shot it as it hit the floor. Mint misses his shots, and he'll go down to Alfalma. A second for Alfalma, making his third and his fourth total for the round. Alfalma, a huge round. And DarkZero absolutely feeling the pain there from this European acquisition.
After Monday and today, I don't think anyone would be questioning why eUnited picked up Alfalma. Obviously, it's not a cheap thing to do to bring someone over, get their visa and things like that. But I mean, I feel like everyone who's managed to come over from Europe so far has just been fantastic for these teams. North America bringing, what they need a lot of times, especially when we're starting to kind of run thin on North American talent because we've had mostly the same pool of talent for a long time, and we haven't been able to bring up enough people from Challenger Leagues. So we're starting to, just borrow them from other countries.
Actually, there's actually like a whole drama on that one, Devin, that I think you just tapped into, where there are a lot of people actually arguing against the European acquisitions, claiming that there are plenty of young North American talents that have yet to see their spot in the scene where they can prove themselves, and that giving them a chance is like a much bigger thing for North America than it would be to acquire European talent. Now, I mean, you could debate that one forever. I'm not going to get into that. I know that it's a big drama, and there's like a lot of conversation around it. But what I will say is that Alfalma, when his team got 7-2'd in the last playday, 7-2'd, he dropped a 2.0 KD, 12 kills and 6 deaths in a loss, a 7-2 loss. And and now he's been a big reason why eUnited's got any rounds at all.
And I have a feeling too, now that they're on defense, if he can continue to light them up, they could really bring quite a few rounds back. As you mentioned before, it is pretty defensive sided, and I definitely think, they're in the right setup to be able to do this. They're not going with the Wamai, which I think is, that probably would have been a better choice than maybe either the Kayet or the Smoke, depending on how they wanted to hold those walls. But it's still a lot of utility to deal with.
I wanted to say one more thing about the whole Alfalma thing before we actually move on from that topic. And that is, say what you want, Europe, North America, whatever. Alfalma as an individual, as a player, has a special talent for finding the right moment on attack to insert himself into the fray and find the blind spot in a team setup. Because he did it perfectly that last round, and I've seen him do that just through 2 matches several times, where he'll get 1 or 2 kills here and there, and he's in the winning position, and he can sometimes, when in that spot, just win the round out for his team, as he has just done in the last round. So good props to him for that.
I think what leans into that as well is being a support player from EU. It gave him an opportunity to really be a well-coordinated player in terms of paying attention to callouts, paying attention to where players are at, trying to support his teammates as well. Kind of gives you a certain sense of how to keep track of what's going on from your opponents, maybe more than someone that's just kind of running in, trusting drones and peeking rooms, and now he's using that to help him frag.
So, pressure onto Pixel here from DarkZero. Similar to eUnited, they will have a very slow execution. ADS has been established as clear thanks to those stuns going in. Oh, but actually looks like the stuns missed, so that's just bad throws. The rest of them won't, though, and now ADS clear means the volcanic shield will be destroyed. But it's taken 2 minutes to accomplish this partial control, I should say, of Pixel Spot. And they still haven't dealt with Callout, who's got a shotgun and a mission. That mission, holding on to the white hallway. It's going to be really hard for the attack to deal with him there. But might just try to avoid him altogether. That's an option as well.
And you see the Evil Eye there you can go cook for. Hopefully there's no ADSs, manages to get it just fine. So that's good. That spares some other utility if they were running low on the Asher Zofia breaches.
Peek in here, very dangerous for Skies. He's got the shield to deal with, and he's going to try and get rid of it with a nade. That might have gotten the shield. Grixer needs a little bit of damage. He might have gotten the air jab as well. That could be bad, but he did a lot of damage to Grixer, so it could be worth as well. Fofo will get mint while that's all happening. So Advantage eUnited on the defense. Only 20 seconds for the push to come from DZ. Another shield deeper in Freezer, and there's no nades for Skies. So it's going to be really difficult for them to make this happen. Hot and dies, so no chance of that happening. Eclipse will also go down, and oh, it's just one after another. eUnited, a firm holdout on the top floor. Hyper's going to get 2, but he will not get anything else as he's downed. And the round is finished off by eUnited, getting their 3rd in this match.
Just great bunkering down by eUnited. They, as you mentioned, the layers of shields there, deep, as well as the electrified walls, that there was nothing really they could do about it. On DZ's side, they didn't bring a Maverick or any way to be able to clear those electroclaws. Like you said, they left Callout in the bathroom, and you saw a kill from him just peeking out with the shotgun because they just weren't able to deal with all these 90-degree angles. Yeah, the nade into the freezer was a great attempt to do so. You were almost better off just leaving the air jab there if they weren't able to finish that kill, though, unfortunately, just to try and contain him. And there is the angles from the humidor they could have tried to use as well to try and I mean, everyone's pretty well prepared for those at this point, but it does give them some additional pressure they could do to try and contain him on that doorway. But they just could not deal utility-wise with what was being brought, especially with the layers of shields deep and just smart peek outs as well from EU and good trades every time they were losing a player. They're managing to trade it off pretty much. We'll see how it goes for Reading, though. They're not going to risk mining dining, at least not yet.
The reoccurring trend I'm seeing, not only in this match, but in all of North America, slow attacks. And these attacks are not slow because every single team has just suddenly agreed to be more methodical or more deliberate with every action that they make. It's not that. It's not to do necessarily with the speed of teams slowing down. It's actually to do with the operators that are most prevalent on defense in this day and age. And we're talking about your Goyo, who has, I think we can safely say, because everyone always asks with the newer operators, is Goyo going to make a change in Pro League? Goyo is defining the current meta on the defensive side, partially in Pro League. He is a big part of the equation. That equation being how much time can we waste as a defender, and you've got operators like Mute, Mozzie, Castle, Goyo. These are your major contributors. They take up a big portion of these rounds very often for the attacking side. So that last round was a great example. You've got the slowdown already from the anti-information operators, making your drone game be pretty slow. And then when you actually get to the execution, there's 3 Goyo shields you have to deal with. 3. And then you get past those. It took them 2 minutes to get past the first 7. I mean, and they didn't have enough explosives to get past the 3rd.
And I feel like some of the solution to that was to give more players grenades, but then what do we get? We get Whammy. He to take away those grenades. So it's like the play and counterplay is still leaving this very much in defenders' favor at the moment.
Wait a minute. Are we calling him Whammy now?
I called him Whammy just for fun.
Oh no.
You gotta throw some of those in there.
Alright. Yes, we have Whammy, and we've got the that his addition has really, I think, seriously hurt the whole clearing out of the Goyo shields or castle barricades or whatever it might be at that time. In this case, it's just going to be the good old Mutant Mozzie combo or the Moozdy combo.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were gonna go with the Moozdy again, were you?
Yeah, I wanted to.
I remember you guys debating about that on Monday.
Yes, because there's a player named Moozzy, so we can't call it the Moozzy combo because it's not like it's his thing or anything. It's just anyway. The attack coming in. The attack coming in top white. It's going to be a nade on a call-up, but he miraculously survives, and he'll keep his gas canisters up and slowing down the push from DZ. Meanwhile, Houghton gets one. Hyper adds to that. Yeti has been stunned, and he's lost an opportunity to get a kill because of that. He's pinned now, but able to get Eclipse. Good awareness of the angles there for Yeti, and he persists in Cocktail. There's still plenty of time for the attack, and they do have that man advantage. Another stun going on to Yeti. He's really feeling the pain here, but he hasn't been finished off just yet. And there it is. 3 different people shooting at him all at once, and Mint's the one to collect the kill. eUnited on the back foot in the last 20 or so seconds. There's not much of a chance for them to hold out here against this DZ onslaught. The top floor control is going to be very important to the final execution. Good angle here from Fofo, but he misses the shot. Grixer gets one on White Stairs. That's big. Could be more for Grixer as he positions himself in reading. A second onto Hyper, but can he stop the plant? It doesn't look like he will be able to. No, Mint starts it right now, but it's a little late. A triple for Grixer, and there's the quad! eUnited! 2 versus 4, a round that should have been DarkZero's.
Grixer and Yeti, definitely a huge part of that win there. Yeti at first because of how long he was able to delay and play behind that shield. As you said, forcing 3 people to have to shoot at him just to try and secure that kill because he was in such a tight spot and peeking those angles. And then Grixer just going off and reading. That was obviously crucial, but it's just those layers again of defense. At least DarkZero started their attack pressure a little bit earlier than EU usually were for those last minute ones and started picking off 2 of the players early on. But it's after that, especially the follow-up on Grixer, they just didn't have enough manpower left at that point, or time. Started getting desperate. And obviously, if you've got one man planting, that's one man that can't be shooting. And, you know, you end up in a tough situation like that where Grixer gets almost an easy kill.
You know, there's a lot of layers to that round, okay? There's a lot of layers.
Okay.
Many things to talk about. But really, it's just more of the same. And to some extent, it's actually kind of not very interesting. Because the truth of the matter is, the defense is doing a really good job of slowing things down. The star of the show in that round for me is Yeti. He managed to waste an extra 20-30 seconds than most players would in his position. He even got a kill playing in Cocktail as the Jaeger. When he should have been dead, he was still persisting. He played it very well. Of course, Grixer got that 4K, and he clutched it up big, but why was he allowed to get that 4K? Again, that's because of Yeti. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about a 4 versus 2 with man advantage and control advantage, vertical power over the defenders. So DZ, they've got these angles open from above. They've got a position where they can inflict a lot of damage because of their control. But because Yeti wasted 20 to 30 seconds more than your typical player would in that position, DZ didn't leave somebody to watch for Grixer to reposition into reading. They didn't have anyone watching the angles. They were all trying to reposition for the take because they were out of time. They were rushing themselves. This meta we find ourselves in right now for the defense, where it comes down to slowing people down, whether it be on the information game or with castle barricades and Goyos. In that last round, it was just information. No castle, no Goyo. That meta, though, even just with the Mutant Mozzie, is giving us a situation where we see the most methodical, thorough teams in a region, such as DarkZero, getting sloppy because they don't have any time. They don't have time to execute the way they want to execute. They have to rush themselves. They have to go in a fashion that's just uncomfortable. Because if you have just a few seconds left in the round and you stay to watch for Grixer from above, then you're counting on your teammates also not dying. And maybe you miss something. If you miss something, then you can't reposition. There's no more time for you to reposition. You're just dead in the water. You're stuck. An uncomfortable situation for the attack. And we'll see if DarkZero can make something happen on this attack. I'm sorry I had a little bit of a tangent there, but that's it. I'm done now.
But I mean, that's indicative, as you said, of this whole meta. That's you're not even just talking about this one match. You're talking about how the game's being played right now, and it's a big part of what we're seeing, especially in this matchup, because both teams are doing it so successfully.
Yeah, it's been the story for all of North America. I casted the last North American Playday. It was the same thing. Oh, that's an opportunity missed from Alfalma. Let's get into the action here. He's being droned out. He's trying to hold on to Bakery. This is not an easy job. And he knows he's got someone contesting him from on top of the armored vehicle. Lots of damage incurred, but no kill. The foot spotted out. That could be shot, and that's probably going to be called to Mint, who might see the angle. There's the nade and the down. Alfalma's a doc. He'll get himself up. It might not be in time, though. Actually, he hasn't got himself up, and Fofo is going to be eliminated while he tries to assist. There might not be any stims left on Alfalma, and he'll be finished off. Yeti upstairs gets Skies, who's attempting to clear the roamers, but still, man advantage to DZ. Not control advantage, though. Yeti's going to be able to hold from above, and that's huge as we hit the last 18 seconds. It's deceptive. The peek into the hallway, stopped by Houghton. Good awareness there on the angles. Yeti's trying to hold the push. He does one. Can he get a second? The answer is yes. That's his third for the round. And now suddenly, it's just Eclipse. He has to clutch it in 5 seconds, and he gets one. A beautiful shot above. He might be able to plant. Call out has to go, and he has to go now. It's going to be very close. Just 1 second here for Eclipse, and he gets it, and he wins! Amazing! What a shot from Eclipse! DarkZero, a huge clutch with just a second to spare.
You gotta wonder why he didn't switch to the pistol there.
Yeah, he could have possibly got there faster.
I mean, it might have not
But
made a difference in the end, though, but it was definitely, down to the split seconds there.
It was like 1 second.
Yeah.
If he had, oh man, wow, you just don't see those very often.
Yeah, and the thing is, he couldn't have pre-fired quickly because when you sprint, there's that sort of cooldown before you could pull out your gun and start shooting, and that really was what cost him right there because he couldn't react as fast as Eclipse, who just simply had to stand up and fire.
Yeah. Pistol also, you're getting into that fight much faster with that pistol, typically speaking. So, I don't know, it's the speed of the pistol, it's the hindsight 2020. And we go, we're just seconds after the round, of course, but, still, we could just analyze that to death. There's a lot of things that Callout could have done better there. But it didn't happen that way. Yeah. Great clutch to Eclipse. This is, of course, Eclipse. Let's talk about him for a second. This is a player, if you're not familiar, that's been going steady since the very beginning of competitive Rainbow Six. Before Pro League even existed, this man was on PC, gaming some Rainbow Six, and he was insane. I remember way back, again, this is pre-Pro League, I remember playing a scrim against Eclipse and getting absolutely just destroyed by him. So one of the most nutty shots that was ever hit onto me individually as a player by anyone was by Eclipse really early in this game's existence. And he's carried that forward as a player for just years and years and years. And here he is clutching up big rounds like that. That's going to give DarkZero really the room that they needed to breathe as they were starting to lose control of the match.
And I definitely think he's found a better place on DarkZero than he was having on former Rogue when they were kind of struggling. So that's been good to see overall. I gotta give a lot of credit though, before we move on to Alfama for that last round. He was alive to the last 30 seconds of that round. Near the doorway, essentially, of the entry, and still surviving against two players just firing at him.
Yeah, Alfama, speaking so far, the star of the show for this match has been Alfama. We're gonna zoom out. Both these teams, Alfama's just been putting up some serious work on several different layers. And he's definitely a big cornerstone, I think, to EU's, it's weird to say, to EU's defense and attack. So good job to Alfama. Really, again, you were talking about it earlier, and I agree with you, proving that he's definitely belongs on this roster.
It feels funny that I didn't realize it before. Alfama went from EU to EU.
Yeah, he did.
I
was wondering when you were going to joke about it.
Yeah, good.
So Yeti, yeah, beautiful C4. That was a pre-established angle and a well-timed C4 from Yeti. And that's going to give eUnited a good edge in this round. They've lost the Heart Destructor on DZ, and that's going to slow down their attack even further. Of course, it's already going to be a pretty slow attack, but now even more so.
Looks like they're trying to figure out how they want to deal with those shields yet again. It's at a different angle this time, I think. But they're still, basically, they know Freezer is their bunker. They've got to clear it. They've got less than a minute left. They've got possibly some utility left. But they've got to deal with the fact that they can't. A lot of those shields are even electrified by the electric claws, so that you can't even hit them with the Ash Breach. You've got to use the Zofia impact to do it, and there goes both of them.
Nice shot from Eclipse. There goes Fofos on XD, and DZ have found themselves back in the round at even man count. No response from eUnited, really. A little bit of damage done to Eclipse, I guess, but, same damage done to Grixer. A little bit more even. And once again, we find ourselves in 25 seconds left, but there's still a plant going down. Eclipse will get off of it, though. Gas Canister has forced him off. And a run out from Yeti is stopped by Hyper. Size also adds to that. eUnited now on the back foot. Gas Canisters expended, possibly Evil Eyes as well. The plant needs to go down, but Alfama's stopping it cold. Great position there in Cocktail, and he's able to deny this plant outright, but there's Skies with the headshot. Call out now, the clutch master is gonna have to do it, but the air jab allows for the plant, he loses it! Oh no!
That's the air jab that they used themselves last time as well. It stayed this time.
Oh, that's 2 rounds for callouts in the 1v1. And he can't make it happen. That's unfortunate. The timing was not in there. DarkZero, another successful attacking round. And will go to Kitchen for possibly the last defense for United.
I can't believe it. The round that the same air jab, but it stays this time, and you see why it was so useful. That is unfortunate because had it been a 1v1 against the planter, he still probably had enough time to finish the job. But the fact that he had to deal with someone else, not great.
That was just that was a rough situation there. I have to applaud DarkZero for their focus on the plant, because instead of them starting to plant towards the end of that last 20 seconds. They started planting before we got to the 20-second period. So, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I already talked about it a little bit today, but I'm going to reiterate. I feel like it's important. We live in an era of Siege right now. I guess we can call it the 20-second meta. And what that means is basically most of the rounds, at least in North America so far through this season, most of the rounds on attack are coming down to the final 20 seconds. We're seeing full teams of 5 on both sides persist in their entirety until the very last 20 seconds of many rounds. It's not happening all the time, sure, but it's happening quite frequently. And DZ started planning at about second 25 left in the round, so that's, they're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's important, right? You start forcing them to have to corral around you and fight back, because they were in pretty well bunkered positions, right? You had Alfama playing in Heaven, and then you had, I believe it was Call Out inside Freezer. Those are two really important positions to stop a plant. And so you need to just start kind of bringing them out of those positions, and starting to plant earlier is definitely one way to do that.
Drone activated.
Yeah, oh, okay, there's another way to do
start.
something. Yeah, a run out from Yeti. The question is, will he be caught? This is a long transition. I think he won't be caught. Yeah, unfortunate for DarkZero, but very fortunate for eUnited. Congratulations to them, and congratulations to Yeti. That could get them one round closer to a draw. It's definitely worth noting that there is no win scenario for eUnited, given that DarkZero managed to get those 6 rounds. So we will at least see 1 point for DZ.
Honestly, between TSM and DZ, it's going to be very difficult for a team like eUnited to try and even get into the top 2. So it's probably not a huge loss to only get 1 point if they get there. It's still pretty good for them. And that would be a record of 2 ties on this map, which is not bad.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Drawing SSG was really big in the first place. And if they draw DarkZero too, they can say that they're drawing against some really top teams, in the region. But it is actually relevant, though, for prize pool distribution, because 3rd and 4th place get $16,500. 5th place and 6th place get $14,000. 7th and 8th get $12,000. Skies is going to get the initial kill here onto Fofoson XD. Well, initial for his kill, I suppose, or for rather his team. But second kill in this round, and an equalization of the man count. So we're back to 4-on-4. Well, we're into 4-on-4. Back to even.
Well, at least it was a kill, before there's 1 minute left. So that was already a good start for DZ. Although they did lose Eclipse, early on from that run out from Yeti. So that wasn't a great start. But, they're not doing too bad here. As long as they can use the remaining manpower and utility to push site more effectively. The problem is that they're just now bucking into Train. And this is really late to be doing that, because you have so little time left to actually try and find positions players. But good nade that he didn't kill himself like Grixer. So well done by Sky.
Step up. Okay, it is a little bit late, but we're in that 20-second meta. I'm gonna keep calling it that until it catches on. I don't know if it will, but
there you go.
That's where we are. Here we go. 20 seconds. The action's gonna start, I'm sure, pretty soon here, or maybe not. It could be even slower, I guess. It looks like it's DZ starting to push in. Here we go. Hyper gets 1. That's a nice shotgun kill there for Call Out. The push in is stopped by Alfalma. Air jab's popping off. There's a nice reaction from Alfalma, but it's not enough. Yeti's going to need to stop this plant, and he might be able to. It's right next to him. Come on now. You can do it. Yes, there it is. Yeti stopping Mint in the last second. The 0-0 before Mint can get the plant down. That was very close, and even Yeti is sweating it.
He almost, it's almost like he delayed on purpose, but it was more just he couldn't find him until he just barely saw that shoulder. That's the thing, man. Some of the times the angles, not just for shooting people, it's also for visibility, because someone's going to be planting in a spot where they're trying to hide, but they're also desperate for time, so they're just going to have to slap that diffuser down on the floor as quick as they can. So it was just like, oh, where's he going to be positioned at? You don't know for sure. But well done by Yeti, though, just barely salvaging that round.
Just barely indeed. A 000 coming into play. DZ delaying their push a little bit too much. So where on the attack of the top floor, DZ were a lot faster than usual. On the attack of the kitchen, a little bit more behind, but more of the same 20-second meta. Oh boy. I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about this we're in right now, Devin? What do you?
I feel like I was kind of harping on it a little earlier. I feel like dry running. You need to set 5 other players to do the setups to be able to practice it. But dry running, clearing the utility, I think efficiently with time, because utility doesn't change a ton in terms of where people are positioning. Like, yeah, sure, that Goyo shield there on Pixel like slightly moves around a little bit in terms of angle, but overall doesn't change a ton. And especially if you start to see your opponents doing certain things, you have trouble dealing with them. Practicing efficiently using your lineup to clear that utility. I mean, yeah, Wamai makes it a little bit more difficult because those discs can kind of be a variable. But again, the faster you do that, the less that you have to deal with those discs. I think that's the important thing. And yes, it's not going to be perfect. Obviously, that's in an ideal world and all that sort of thing. But I think it's worth doing in this current meta, so it's not last 20 seconds. Maybe it's the last 30 seconds because you've cleared 10 seconds more efficiently.
All right. So to me, it sounds like you just have to be more rigid.
I mean, you just have to be practice it more so that you know how to coordinate it faster, really.
Okay, first of all, I just gotta say that's really bad that the had to use his life or his dash charges there because of course Skies can do that. He's got a different mission, but that means that less of the Goyo shields will be destroyed. That's gonna rely more on Hyper and Skies with the nades now to destroy the Goyo shields. That's not good. That 2 Ash charges were used like that.
Yeah, definitely not ideal.
But yeah, Alfama's gonna get the lead-off kill onto Mint. Looking a lot like a draw. Not done yet. That was a really important kill though for Alfama. Easy's trying to hunt the player and reading. The reinforced wall is giving them some trouble. This is their mission, clear as day.
That's why that kill into Mint was so important, because opening up that reading wall is so crucial sometimes to making those plays so you're not just pushing into a door. And I think maybe the stuns here are gonna, that impact as well as possibly some stuns from the lifeline are gonna be crucial to make this push happen.
He's got double droned out. Yeti's in a difficult spot. The mark's coming in, but not the shots. And what a shot from Yeti before he's finished off. Actually, he trades with Skies. A beautiful kill though for Yeti. He shouldn't have been able to get anything out of that.
Good night.
Yeah, considering the collapse, he shouldn't have been able to get anything. So yeah, that was a win for Yeti for sure. DZ now really not in a great spot. They've got a minute to work with, but they're a man back because of Yeti's efforts. And on top of that, they haven't even started their attack onto the top floor.
I love Fofo-san just barely getting away from a Zofia impact below him, and then shots coming down right in front of his face. He's just bunkered down, delaying as long as he can. As you said, the top floor control, not in their hands. He's a key part of that right now.
Fofo-san definitely going to be a large factor. He's on half HP, of course, but he's got that TCSG-12 probably, so he can win those gunfights outright. C4 goes in, as the Repel does as well, but actually it's just a down. It's lucky that it's onto Eclipse and not Hyper. And he probably will be finished off. There's no way he's getting back up into the fight, which means more pressure on Hyper to get the kills. He's going to get 1 down, possibly a second. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place here, and his teammates finished off, so it's all on him. It's eUnited to get the draw. 6-6, a single point for both teams. And that, if anything, is really just a win for eUnited.
Really well done by Fofo-san, not just dodging the kills there, but the C4 down that he got was on the diffuser, and they were unable to recover it. So they were left in a desperate gunfight-only situation pretty much at the end there, and of course Fofo-san managed to pick up 1 more of those as well. Just overall, you see